Sky is so high, if you don't know how to fly, aim feel easier to make you fly. Sky is so high, if you don't know how to fly, aim feel easier to make you fly. Here we go.
What do you mean by the term flight plan?
So
Good.
flight plan is the planning of routes of flights and managing weight and planning
Rise
for
over the
fuel.
sky. Here we go. Set your standard.
Weight balance. Weight balance, yes, that is one term. You're planning the routes. Okay, that's a good one. Then what did you say? Fuel management.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Fuel management. Oh, all right. So we have a fuel management. We have complete the fuel managing. We are analyzing the weight and balance, and we are maintaining the route. So is only route planning enough for a flight plan? Only you just need to plan up the correct route, or should you do more than that?
So we have to see the weather report and plan the route according to the weather report.
Okay. So in case if you have say a sandstorm in your destination, what is the planning that you will do?
So I'll be delaying the flight for some few for 15 minutes whether the sandstorm goes till the
Okay.
sandstorm goes.
Okay. Okay. Delaying a flight, is sandstorm very risky to delay a flight? Is
Uh,
it any safety or security concern?
it can damage the road. It can damage the plane rotors and even the parts of plane.
Yes, that is one good thinking. But can I have your name? I didn't get your name.
Ashish Kotian.
Ashish. So
Yes.
Ashish, delaying a flight for sandstorm is not a good idea. I would suggest you that because you can take a detour. You need not go and land in that particular airport for the time being. You can release the aircraft from your station, give it another spot for landing. That is an alternate station for landing before
Okay,
you
sir.
take the aircraft to the final destination. The reason you take the detour, you can inform the ATC and the kayak captain that due to the sandstorm, due to the safety concerns, rather than delaying the flight from the departure station, I have decided to delay the flight in the arrival station. So that
Okay.
I'm taking a detour and taking the aircraft to another alternate station for landing.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so
Yeah.
weather report. You need to do the route mapping. You need to know how much weight is there for the aircraft. You need to know what are the fuel that you need for that trip. So, besides all these points, there is another one more thing that is en route towers. What is en route towers means? If the aircraft is moving from here to say from coastal areas, say from Mumbai to Dubai. So as you all know that Mumbai to Dubai, there won't be any cities. Not until you reach Oman, not until you reach the country Oman, there won't be any cities, no people, only water. So it's crossing the sea and going to Dubai. So when it's crossing the sea, the captain must know how many aircrafts are running along with him in that particular direction or maybe in the opposite direction. If it's in the opposite direction, what is the height? What is the height that aircraft is moving? Or if it is in with him within the same direction, he needs to know how many aircrafts are flying. That is the horizontal side. That is along with him, how many aircrafts are flying? What is the distance between each aircraft? So all these things should be concerned when it's about the flight plan. So that will be concerned regarding the captain based on the flight plan. Even though you have made arrangements for the departure, after the departure, the captain needs some commands of how to handle the aircraft because he can't see anything. It's just water and open skies for him, so he can't see anything. What is a flight plan? An ICAO flight plan format will be in such terms. So can you see the screen, right? So you can see that this is the international standard format for writing a flight plan. So manually we'll be when the offline classes started, we'll be starting off our session with this. We'll be manually writing a flight plan. So I'll be taking half of the portions today because I don't want to put up more pressure on you because this is quite complicated when it comes to the airway side. So here you can see the cruising speed, level, and route. So by the time you reach route, you must be clear of the remaining things because the route is going to be complicated and there are about 200 to 1000 routes, airway routes for an aircraft to reach a destination. So you go through all those routes and you shouldn't confuse yourself. So we'll be taking half of the session today. So this is an international flight plan format. As you can see, the priority, that's a 2-letter code FF. This will be part of your, not the one that you use for load sheet, that is QU, QX, that priority is different. This is flight formation. So for this, you're creating a new flight plan and issuing to the ATC and informing the entire aviation towers that an aircraft is being departed from the station. So that priority is very high, and along with that, we'll put the addresses. So addresses normally are of 8 digits. So you'll have the first 4 letters of the station. The next 2 letters will be of which person is putting it. So whether it's the station manager or whether it's the ATC agent, and the next 2 is based on which airline is traveling that. Whether it's Air India or Indian Airlines or Air India Express, Etihad, Emirates, whatever it is, which airline is traveling. So based on that, that will go to the base. That is the airline's main base. Next, we'll have filing time. When you have send this results to the ATC, there they'll file this. Once the ATC plan, once this international flight plan has been filed, the ATC will issue 2 codes. One will be the ADC, the other will be the FIC. So air differential code and flight information code. So these 2 codes are issued to the captain to get the ATC clearance for their departure. So why it's ADC and FIC codes are issued? Because it's a security reason that that an aircraft without permission should not enter into our airspace. So for that purpose, ADC and FIC are issued. So once this filing is done, what time it's filed, from that time onwards, for about 5 hours, the aircraft can stay in the ground. Based on all the technical reasons and all those things, they can stay on the ground. And beyond that, should be informed to the ATC tower, or there should be a change in flight plan. So how many, what time, what date and time the filing is done, from that time onwards, about 5 hours, the aircraft can stay on the ground till it departs. So in case if the time has exceeded, say it's 1 o'clock, it has been filed, the aircraft is departing at 2:30 or maybe 3 o'clock, and unfortunately due to delay it has to go all the way up to 5:30. Yes, the aircraft can still move on with the same flight plan. Or in case if it's a very busy time, you need to contact the ATC and ask, is the flight plan still active? So if you say yes, the flight plan is still active, you can go with the same flight plan, or else you need to change the flight plan. So filing time is very important. Next, originator, the origin station. Normally that will be 8-letter code. That is the 4-letter ICAO code of the station, 2-letter of the person in charge, and the last 2 letters will be about the authorities. Now message type. Message type, it still goes with FPL, that is flight plan, which is of high priority. Okay. So before we go to the types, there are a few rules that you need to know when you start writing a flight plan. First one is you will be using only capital letters, one letter in each space of the field, unless fields are not divided in spaces. So all letters that you write should be in capital letters, adhere to the prescribed format and manner of specifying data. So other than that, all the letters that you write should be in capital letters. Any data should be inserted only in the fields and spaces provided. So no overwriting or no cutting. If you make a mistake, you need to take another copy and rewrite it, because ATC plans should not be given. You mustn't give wrong information. Any data should be inserted only in the fields and spaces provided. Where excess space is available, leave unused spaces blank. So whatever information you are putting, that should be correct. If there is an extra spaces, you can leave that as it is. You do not fill up it or put zero or just score it. No scorings. You write what is required for you and you keep it as it is. All times should be clock times in 4-figure UTCs. So I think you guys need to have a session about UTC. That is how you'll do the conversion to UTC. Anyway, in all dispatcher offices, there will be two types of clocks. One will be your local time, and the other will be the UTC time. So that won't be an issue. So whenever you are sending any information, that is when you're writing a flight plan, all the time should be in UTC. So it may be 1800 0930, or if it's going for 12 o'clock, you need to put 4 zeros, or if it's being filed at So what are the rules is all letters that you write in the flight plan should be capital letters. You are allowed to only write what is necessary, and nothing should be scored or crossed. If any mistakes are done, you need to change the entire paper. You can't overwrite anything on a flight plan. Excess space, if found, is available. Leave unused spaces blank. All times that you write in the flight plan should be of UTC. Then the term aerodrome that you use, aerodrome is any airport with a terminal building, a strip of runway, and apron can be considered as aerodrome, whether it's for helicopter landing or balloons or aircraft, anything. So the aerodrome that they mean is a building from where the aircraft goes. Another note that item numbers on the form are not consecutive. They correspond to item type in standard ATS messages. So when this is compiled and sent by an ATS message, so it's based on that order that it's the international flight plan is being created. It's for the air traffic service through which the message they'll pass. Next, items proceedings. Item 7 are to be completed by ATC and Com service. That is from 1 to 7. All will be completed by the ATC or the communication service. From 7 to 18 should be completed as indicated. Item 19 completion is to facilitate alerting of SAR, search and rescue services. So anything up to 7 should be done by the ATC, and items from 7 to 18 will be completed by us. The 19th one is for the ATS, that is SR team, search and rescue team, who in case the aircraft is missing or has met an accident, the search and rescue team will be filling up that one.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
So will you please tell us that what type of item you are talking about?
Items means it's on the flight plan. I showed you the flight plan. So in this, you can see that message type 3. So up to that order, you can leave it. From 7, the aircraft identification, the flight rules, type of flight, number, type of aircraft, wake turbulence category, the equipment, departure aerodrome, time, cruising speed, level, route, destination aerodrome, total EET in hours and minutes, alternate aerodrome, second alternate aerodrome, and other information. So this much portion, you can see the aircraft identification over here. So from 7 up to 18 will be filled up by us. That is, we'll be doing the writing parts for this much portions. The remaining one up to 3. 3 is not required, it's because it's already done. So the one above this will be filled up by the ATCT. So our portion is only the one that's in the middle. So aircraft identification, you are putting details regarding the aircraft only, and the remaining details will be filled up by the ATC and the communication service along with SAR. So SAR 19th one is for search and rescue. In case the aircraft meets an accident, the search and rescue, after completing their task, they will be filling up this and filing it. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay then. Starting with the aircraft identification. That is the 7th point, aircraft identification. So this consists of aircraft registration letters or the company designated, followed by the flight number, which are to be used by air traffic services for radio telephonic communication and coordination. So aircraft registration can be either the call sign to be used by the aircraft while consist of this identification alone. So either they can use a call sign. In this, I have just taken a random registration, Alpha 6 YMA. So either they can use Alpha 6 YMA, or in case they know the aircraft type, that can be taken. For example, A6 YMA is a Gulfstream G550 aircraft. So either they can put is GLF5 YMA, or they can address the aircraft as Alpha 6 YMA. So aircraft registrations will be Alpha 6 YMA or GLF5 YMA. So this will be the one you will be putting the aircraft registration side if you're going for a private jets or any general aviation. In the case of a commercial aircraft, operating agencies and flight number, that is Air India flights or Etihad flights or Emirates flight, based on that, their ID code will fall as this: Alpha India Charlie AIC 967 or ETD 249 or UAE 523. Or else a tactical call sign normally used for military type, that will be Bruno 12, Swift 45, Red 1. That is issued by the military. So you don't have to worry about that. As far as for identification for commercial side, operating agency and flight number, the second one will be the common one we'll be using. That is, we'll be putting the 3-letter codes for the ICAO airline code will be 3 letters. So those 3 letters plus the flight number. As you can see in some of the airlines, they have a particular call signs also. Through radio, they'll call Air India 967, or they'll say Etihad 249 or Emirates 523. So that will be their call signs that they will be addressed to. So that's for the aircraft identification side. Next, flight rules and type of flight. So flight rules, as I told you earlier, this one will be flight rules and type of flight. That is the next one. As you can see, number 8 is flight rules, and then we have the type of flight. So flight rules, normally we have lots of flight rules, but common one is instrument flight rules and visual flight rules. So either one of them will be used for a particular sector. If we are going for the commercial side, normally, if it's a not a much risky area, instrument flight rules will be used. So for that, in that position, we'll be putting the code I. In case if it's VFR, that is visual flight rules, we'll be putting the code V. So in certain situation, as I told you, if you're approaching a Bermuda Triangle, or if you're crossing the Atlantic Ocean from London to New York, or so, when you are putting a particular route, you need first the IFR, the instrument flight rule, and then you completely go for the visual flight routes till the aircraft land. So for them, the command will be Y. So if you put Y, it's understood that the aircraft will take off or start off with the IFR flight rules, and later on, as per the pilot's information or pilot's request, the IFR will be cancelled and VFR will be brought into action. Next, same just like Y, Z also has the same effect. Only thing, VFR, the visual flight rules comes in first, then IFR will come. So this will indicate the ATS that during the flight, a pilot will call for changing to IFR, which will require ATC clearance. So in such situation, from VFR to IFR, when it's doing, maybe it's crossing the sea with visual flight rules, and that before entering into the city, it requires instrument flight rule. So the nearest ATC will be informed that the code is Z and the aircraft is being changed from VFR to IFR. So the ATC will give them clearance based on the ADC code that they have received from their origin station. So in such situation, if it's received from the origin station, they can inform the ATC, yes, we have received the ADC clearance for this aircraft is so and so. So normally ADC will be a 5-letter code or maybe a 4-letter code. Based on the ADC confirmation, the ATC will give access to the aircraft to enter their airspace. So in case if there is more changes in the flight type of flight rules, the code to be used is to reflect the first rule. In case if you have IFR, VFR, and then you're going back to IFR, you can use the command as Y. Or if it's going the opposite way, VFR, IFR, and VFR, you can use the command as Z. So the type of flight rules or types of flights, type of flight rules changes according to the request or according to their route. Next, we have the type of flight. So type of flight normally will go as scheduled, non-scheduled, general aviation, military, and X, other than the preceding categories. So X may be, it could be anything, maybe combat flights or training flights or for training purpose. So what I'm trying to speak here is, next is about the type of flights. So guys, I think my internet is quite slow and my system is, I think, having some complaints. So that's okay. I'll send in this notes today itself. I'll send this presentations today. So if you can read that, and if you have any questions, you can ask me in tomorrow's class. Anyway, I'll correct this issue by today itself. So if you don't understand, you can please ask me, or you can put it in the message box. I'll read it later on. Okay? Is it okay? Okay. Okay.
Okay, yes, sir.
So next we'll be seeing about the type of flight. So type of flight will be expressed based on these 5 points. Either it should be a scheduled air service, that is the airline has got permission from the DGCA regarding this. That is the airline has got permission from the DGCA regarding the airline services. How many services will be done? How many services will be conducted? So such airlines will have a code called S, that is scheduled air service. It's been scheduled for a particular time of period. Maybe it may be for 3 months, maybe it may be for 6 months, maybe 9 months, or maybe 1 year. So scheduled service means it's already been scheduled and has been sent to the all concerned bodies, including the DGCA. That is for the scheduled service. In case of non-scheduled air service, it's an additional flight that has been created by the particular airline to cover up their series of work. That is, if too much passengers are coming and they don't have a larger aircraft, they'll introduce another set of aircraft to complete their booking with the permission from the DGCA. So that falls under non-scheduled air service. G will be for general aviation, that is maybe for combat purpose or maybe training or sports, or for that kind of work, general aviation is used, and that code will be put in the point of type of flights. M for military. Normally we won't be handling any military aircrafts. That is the Air Force team or the Air Force or Navy or military team will be handling that. So in case if such ATC plans have been registered in the towers, they'll have this code M. X for other than the preceding category. So other than these, if any other type of aircraft, maybe say instead of general aviation, if any other aircraft came for an emergency landing or for dropping off any cargo, that is a special cargo from the government side, and such consignments or such aircrafts come in, they'll be denoted with the code X. So S will be for scheduled airways, N for non-scheduled, G for general aviation, and N for military. X, anything other than these will fall under X category. Next, aircraft numbers. So what kind of aircraft number? Aircraft number means the type rating. If whether it's a 320 aircraft or whether it's a 330 aircraft or maybe 350 aircraft or 380, 800 aircraft. So whatever aircraft it is, the first two characters will be the number of aircraft. That is which company it belongs. Next will be the type of aircraft. So it can be 2 to 4 letters. Since it's ICAO formation we use, it will be a 4-digit code. That is, it will be first one will be an alphabet and the other 3 will be the numeric. So the type of aircraft is indicated by the manufacturer's designator. In case if it's coming for the private jets, it will have the manufacturer's designator. In the earlier one, I showed you a point where GLF, Gulfstream Flight 550, that's the type of aircraft. Along with the registration means it's used for identification. Here for aircraft number, you can put it as GLF 5. That is the Gulfstream aircraft 550. So another point in this, in case formation of flights comprising more than one type, you need to put the code ZZZ and specify the numbers and types of aircraft in 18. That is item 18, that is other information. In the other information, you will be putting the type rating. Here they have given an example, TYT/3C182-2C172. So this will be, you will be putting this in case if you don't have a particular type code for private jets or general aviation. If you don't have a particular type code for the aircraft, you need to put that in the item 18, that is the other information, that is ACFT / and we will put the code. That is what type of aircraft is operating. Normally it happens for general aviation. For commercial side, we'll be having a particular codes. So these are the type of aircrafts that are normally coming into airports rather than the private jets. So you can see for narrow bodies, there will be 4-letter codes. And if you go for 7378, the code will change from B738. And for 7379, it will be B739. And for 7379 ER, that is the extended range aircraft, you will have the code W. That is whiskey. Type of aircrafts, wide body aircraft, you have the same one. For each aircraft type, you'll have a special or separate codes. That is for 350,000, you can see that Alpha 35 Kilo. So this will be the aircraft type of aircraft, that is aircraft code you have to use for the flight plans. So wide bodies, this will be the most frequent wide bodies that will be coming in India, outside India. So these aircraft will be the one that will be traveling more. So about that, a small type of aircraft information is this. Then we have the wake turbulency.
Excuse me.
Yes. Go ahead.
So what is difference between A320 CO and A320 Neo?
Okay, CO and Neo, these are two aircraft. When these two aircraft stand side by side, there is no much difference. The only difference is the engine type. So CEO, the full form is current engine option. That is, it's the older version of the aircraft, the earlier version of the aircraft. Now they have a new engine option, that is, other than Rolls-Royce and GE, another engine with combination has been introduced with a change in their engine performance. So in CEO, you will have the variation is that compared to CEO, Neo can uplift more number of passengers, more number of payload, and more number of fuel. So that is the difference between CEO and Neo. As per the ICAO codes, they both will be referred as Airbus 320. But this CEO and Neo, the difference will come only on the load sheet side. So that will be the type of aircraft. Next, we'll have the wake turbulency. So wake turbulency code, that will be dependent how high the aircraft has to fly. So based on wake turbulency, aircraft will be divided as per their maximum takeoff weight. So wake turbulency options will be calculated based on your maximum takeoff weight of the particular aircraft. So light aircraft to indicate an aircraft type with a maximum certificated takeoff weight of 7,000 kg. So their maximum takeoff weight, if it is 7,000 kg, the wake turbulency code will be L. If it is somewhere more than 7,000 kg and between 1,36,000 kg, the aircraft code will be N. And if it's heavy, more than 136,000 kg, that is more than 136,000 kg, all the way up to the highest one, it will be considered as heavy. And J super, this one is a exceptional case. That is, in case if the aircraft is Airbus 380-800, you need to put the code as J. So for commercial point of view, we'll have aircrafts between that is medium and heavy. So certain aircraft, like if you go for the narrow body aircraft, all aircrafts will fall under medium, and that is the wide body aircrafts will fall under heavy. And except Airbus 380, all other aircrafts will fall under heavy, and J will have Airbus 380-800 only, because their weight is exceeding 400 tons.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
So what about Boeing 747?
Boeing 747 has a maximum takeoff weight of 386 kgs. So 386 tons, and it falls under heavy category. So J super has been defined of Airbus A380. It's hitting somewhere close to 500 tons. So that is more than 400 kgs, 400 tons. So these type of aircraft. So in this J category, you can put Airbus 380-800, or you can put an Antonov 224 or an Antonov 124. So maximum cargo-based aircrafts will have the category as J. The remaining commercial aircrafts, even the 747 types, you will have it between M and H. M, no chance for M, because all wide body aircrafts have weight more than 136 tons. So all the wide bodies will fall under heavy category, and all narrow bodies will fall under medium category. In case you have any general aviation or a private jets coming, you will put it in the light or medium category. And only the Airbus 380-800 will fall under the J super category. Earlier we had only up to light, medium, and heavy. We didn't have this J. So J had some other preference, that is, J is being given a wake turbulency of very high wake turbulency. So if there's an A380 flying at a height, maybe say 30 or 40,000 feet, the aircraft that's traveling along with it or is coming face to face will be also an Airbus A380 with a distance of 2,000 feet. So the horizontal distance of two aircraft will be 2,000 feet. So based on that, the wake turbulency generated by one 380 can be handled only by another 380 and not by any other aircrafts. If such 380 along with the 380 another 747 is traveling, it can damage the 747 aircraft. So due to that condition, this category, if it's an Airbus 380, the Airbus will be given the priority as super and will be given the highest altitude of travel. Okay, is it clear?
So one more doubt.
Yeah, go ahead.
So what about the military aircraft like C-17 Globemasters?
What about the
Military aircraft.
yeah? See, if you go for the C-70 Globemasters, the maximum takeoff weight will not cross more than 400 tons. Even though it's a complete cargo aircraft, it will be falling under the category H and not under the category J. And also, it will be having a type indicator called as M, that is military. So if it's for military purpose, that will be high preference. So that aircraft should be flying where no commercial aircraft will be flying. So they will have a separate air navigational route, and they will be given a priority more than the commercial airlines. Okay, is it clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Next, we'll go for the instrument point. So instrument is communication, either navigation or SSR. So SSR is special service requirements. That is other service requirements for the navigational point of view. So on board, so this equipment on board and its serviceability must be inserted by adding the appropriate suffixes. The first suffixes will denote the COM, that is communication navigational equipment, followed by an oblique stripe, and another suffix to denote the SSR equipment. So to inform that a communication or navigational approach aid equipment for the route to be flown is carried. So in case if the aircraft has the capacity of handling a navigational approach aid equipment inside the aircraft, they will be given the code SS, standard communication navigation approach. That equipment is installed in this route and is available and serviceable. And if there is no such equipment inside the aircraft, you need to give the command as no. So if that aid equipment is working properly, you can put the command as S, or you have to make it as no. Most of the captains avoid that and put it as commonly as S. So that may create issues if you're going to some European or US side. If you're going to those Western side, if the aircraft is not in proper condition and you're putting still an S command for that, if anything happens to the aircraft, the captains or no one will be blamed. Only the flight dispatcher will be blamed for that. So if the aircraft is equipped with such equipment, you can put it as standard, and you must ensure that that's in the working condition. So, what other type of instruments that is landing instruments you will be using? First one will be the GBS landing system. So we'll be looking into this first screen, this slide. All the instruments will be going through. The remaining we have about 2 more sets that we'll look into it later on. So first one will be the GBS landing system. B will be LPV, LORAN C. These are all short forms. You need to know these short forms. I'll explain to you later on in the coming slides. I'll explain it. This will be the codes that you will be using for the instrument point of view. G will be GNSS. We have the H, I, J all the way. We have up to Z. For the TECAN, UHF, RTF, VHF, RTF. So these are the instruments codes that we'll be putting in that particular. I'm showing you in this session. So here, departure, aerodrome, cruising speed, level, and route. So what type of equipment? What is the departure aerodrome and all those things? Destination aerodromes. So in this route type, you need to put what kind of instrument you are going to put. Instruments or equipments that are coming. So you will be only putting a single code. Next, we'll move to the GBS landing system. So what is a GBS? It's a global landing system, also known as global broadband. So before we go to this landing system, let's take a small 10 minutes break. We'll come back by 3:10. Okay, guys. So you can take a 10 minutes break. So guys, next we'll be seeing about the landing systems. These are the instruments that is used by the ATC towers for takeoff and landing guidance. So the first one we'll be seeing is GBS landing system. It's a global landing system or ground-based augmenting system landing. So it's a global navigational satellite system dependent alternative to ILS system. So ILS will help the aircraft to land and take off safely. But when it comes about the taxiing or the presence of any other vehicles, that will be not known. So normally these GBS landing system, this identifies the aircraft's movement inside the airport through satellite. That is just like a GPS system. So how a GPS system works, you switch on a GPS system and wherever the vehicle moves, you know that. So same way for the aircraft, a GPS landing system has been introduced, and this will be installed inside the ATC tower. And from the ATC tower, the information will be passed to the aircraft that is landing or taking off. This is one of the latest generation landing systems. So it's normally seen in the latest aircraft, that is the Boeing 787 Dreamliner and the Boeing Jumbo Jet, the advanced Jumbo Jet, that is 747-800 series. And the remaining, that is the 737 new generation or the 320 family or 330, 350, 380. For these aircraft, it's just an optional system. So they will be given a guidance regarding the landing and takeoff. But in the case of 747, 800 and 787, these aircrafts are inbuilt with these with these ground-based augmenting system, which will help them, which will help the ATC to identify the aircraft movement. They will know where and which position the aircraft is moving inside, that is on the ground. So GPS landing system, it's an advanced version, and it's used to track the aircraft, help assist the aircraft during landing and takeoff. In India, it's found in the metro cities, Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, and Kolkata. Remaining cities all over the world, about 100 airports have been installed, but in India, I think it's only in these 4 main cities. Next one, that is B category, that is LPV, localizer performance with vertical guidance. So this is also a category 1 instrument landing system, but are more economical. This does not require any installation or maintenance, only navigational aids at the airport, since the navigation service provided to the aircraft entirely by satellite. So this is a satellite based that is a guidance system, and in this new system, special systems will be installed. Only the satellite guidance is seen. So LPV is used in the earlier times, and it's used in the earlier times. So it's one of the common and currently used method of landing and takeoff systems. LPV means localizer performance with vertical guidance. APV means it's approach with vertical guidance, and SBS is satellite-based augmenting system. So approach performance, approach-based aircraft along with satellite-based, when these two combined, they have made a new system. Combining these two systems, they have made this new LPV. It's more economical and has a high good performance rate because it's been the messages being transferred through satellites. This is the LPV. LORAN-C, one of the oldest based guidance, that is landing systems. It means long-range navigation, used as a medium-range hyperbolic radio navigation system, which allowed a receiver to determine its position by using multilateration principles to compare the difference in reception time of low-frequency radio signals transmitted by a group of fixed land-based radio beacons. So, a group of land-based radio beacons. We have lots of radio beacons, that is satellites, not satellites, antennas that are installed in India, which transmit these kind of radiation. So the difference, if a Lorentz is installed into an aircraft, the message sent from the aircraft hits one of these fixed group, that is radio-based, land-based radio beacons, and returns back. So the time taken for the reception of these radio signals will help the aircraft to land or guide its path towards the particular aerodrome. So these Lorentz are used in aerodromes, that is not a particular airport, places where only a strip, as I said before, there are aerodromes with just a old building and a mud or sand-based runway. So in these kind of aerodromes, Lorentz will be installed so that they know what is the distance that they are traveling towards the runway for landing. An older version, it's still found in most of the say that is US based sectors we have where aircrafts have been used, that is the single engine diesel engine aircrafts are used. So in these kind of aerodromes, Lorentz will be used. DME, distance measuring equipment, it works just like the Lorentz, but it's normally coupled with a VOR beacon to enable aircraft to measure their position relative to that beacon. The working method is same, just send back after fixed delay by the DME ground equipment. So the working measures of these two, DME and Lorentz, are same. Only thing that DME is used for a short range and Lorentz is for a long range navigation. Next, we have the FMC WPR ACAS. So FMC means Flight Management Computer, WPR Waypoint Reporting, and ACAS Aircraft Communication Addressing Reporting System. So why these three is combined is Flight Management Computer that will have details regarding the flight processing, Waypoint Reporting, that is the guidance mark that is that connects both the ground and the aircraft points, and it will be guiding the aircraft that this is the particular height limit they have to hold the aircraft, or this is the particular speed that the aircraft has to go during landing. And ACAS, this is the confirmation, that is acknowledging system, not only for captain not for captain and ground communication, it's also used for printing up load sheets, flight plans, extra messages from the dispatcher to the captain. So since ACAS has been introduced, most of the work have been reduced to a large extent. The load controllers need not take the load sheet and run to the aircraft. The flight plan can be dispatched from the office straight to the aircraft. So this ACAS system prints. So if you send a message to the particular aircraft that load sheet has been released, once the load sheet has been released from the computer, that is from the system side, it gets printed in the aircraft. So ACAS usage have been improved for the landing, and that is the guidance systems also. And in that, one of the common used system is this. So as per the AOCC control, such ACAS systems are being used by the ATC to transfer messages or to guide the aircraft to the landing spot. If it's ACAS, same method for the ACAS, that is, it will be printing messages, but flight information system, this is direct contact with the air traffic service, and this will cover up areas where the flight information region is active. So for example, if you are taking Coimbatore has its own flight information region. So in that case, a DFS ACAS is enough for the aircraft to land. But if you take Coimbatore, or let's say if you take Mumbai, DFS ACAS was earlier used, but now they are using the GBS landing system. So DFS ACAS are now commonly used in airports like Coimbatore, Trichy, Madurai. So these kind of small airports, very small airports, these ACAS, that is, this kind of landing systems are used. PDC ACAS, pre-departure clearance. So before departure, if the aircraft is leaving the station and not coming back, most of the aircrafts leave our station, hoping of continuing their service to other stations rather than finishing a turnaround session. So pre-departure clearance is basically an electronic version of the IFR clearance you normally get from ATC by communicating to them over your radio or through the usage of ACAS. So this ACAS, this pre-departure clearance will be received before the aircraft departs, and since it's coming by the next day or after a few couple of days, then till then the aircraft will not have any issues regarding the arrival. So it's just only for a departure process, and it will be collected and tallied for departure. That is only for takeoff and not for landing. Next, ADF, Automatic Direction Finder. It's an aircraft navigation product that automatically calculates the relative bearing of the aircraft to the radio station. So this ADF method is used. Standard method is an instrument that is used to navigate the aircraft to the station. That is, this system attracts the aircraft to come to their station. The method they do is send waves to the aircraft, and it will guide the if the frequency is correct. If the frequency of the sender and the receiver is same, the aircraft gets connected, and the aircraft, the captain will have the convenience to land the aircraft, or if it's planning for a departure, it can move off. Normally, ADF is used for landing purpose and not for takeoff. So next is GNSS, Global Navigation Satellite Systems. So this is a key technology in communication, navigation, surveillance infrastructure, can support navigation application in all phases of flight as well as surveillance applications such as ADSB. So I'll explain to you what is ADSB later. So this Global Navigation Satellite System, that is the GNSS system, is a mixture of both all communication, navigation, and surveillance, and this is used for the complete control of the aircraft. That is, the ATC knows normally these systems are used not for the aircraft that's landing or takeoff. This is overflight flights. So in case if an aircraft is overflying a particular city, say Mumbai, and it's exiting from Mumbai for an ETOPS trip to Dubai. So at that point, the Mumbai will be the last tower that it will be accepting, and it will be authorized with an airway, that is air highway. So for that process, such navigation satellite systems are indulged in Mumbai, because it is one of the point where the ETOPS flight plan comes into hand. So the main point of global navigation satellite system is navigational purpose of an aircraft to travel, which is initiating a travel, that is a departure process, or whether it's whether it's an arrival process or an overflight process. So if such systems is being used, its main point will be to handle the aircraft with utmost safety. GNSS means that. So that's all for sessions. We'll be continuing with the remaining instrument systems. You guys will be still having confusion regarding what is this instrument used for. So when you go for the practical side, when you start drawing the route maps, and you will take details regarding the instruments, that what kind of instrument aircraft that we have. If you take an Airbus 320, what are the equipments involved in in a CEO generation, that is the current engine generation, or what's in the new generation. So when you go through such definitions regarding the book, you'll have an idea of what kind of instruments is installed and how you're going to plan for that particular flight. So since if you take a particular airline, if you say Air India, they may have a complete system of say GNSS, or if you're taking a particular station, say Chennai or Delhi or Mumbai, if you say that you have a single GBS landing system, you just put that single code A. That A code will be common in that. That will give you an idea what kind of landing system is used there. So when you're in a particular station, you just need to worry about what kind of landing system is available here, and that is the only code you
Sky
will
is so
insert.
high if you don't know how to fly.
So that's for the
Ain't
landing
feeling
systems.
ya